The galaxy had forgotten the name of humanity. Long ago, humans had spread through the stars, brave, wild, and unstoppable. But wars, greed, and betrayal had broken them apart. One by one, their colonies fell silent, their fleets vanished, and their name faded from memory. For hundreds of years, the galaxy moved on. Empires rose, others fell, and the ancient stories of humankind became jokes told in alien bars. Stories about reckless creatures who fought everything and everyone, until they finally destroyed themselves. The Galactic Council called it the human lesson, and they laughed whenever the name Earth was mentioned. But the truth was different. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was waiting. Far beyond the shining trade routes on the quiet edge of the Orion Arm, a small blue planet still turned around its sun. Earth looked peaceful. Calm oceans, green continents, silent skies. But beneath its calm surface, something was alive. Deep underground, in secret bases and silent hangars, lights glowed. Machines hummed. Soldiers trained in silence. They had learned from their fall. No more open wars. No more broadcasts. Humanity had chosen to vanish, to disappear from the galaxy's eyes, and rebuild in the shadows. For 2 centuries they hid, watching, listening, waiting. And now, they were ready. In the great chambers of the Galactic Council, 1,000 alien voices argued. A report had arrived, a trade convoy missing near the old Terran sector. Another one destroyed. The Council called it piracy, nothing more. They are probably scavengers, hissed a Thrixian delegate, her scaled face curling into a grin. No one lives in that sector anymore, said a Varnak general, laughing. Humans are extinct. The council members laughed together. None of them noticed the small listening probe drifting above their meeting hall, its black lens turning slowly, recording every word. That probe was human. A week later, a Varnak warship named Dominion's Claw entered the Terran sector to investigate the disappearances. Captain Rator sat proudly in his command chair. "Activate scanners," he ordered. "We'll find these pirates and end this nonsense." The scanners showed something strange. A large metallic structure hidden inside an asteroid field. It didn't match any known design. No ID, no signal. "Could be old human wreckage," said one of the officers. Rator laughed. "Humans never built anything that big. Let's see what this is." The Claw moved closer. The asteroid field was quiet, too quiet. Then one of the rocks rotated slowly. Surface opened like an eye. Inside, something glowed blue. "Captain," whispered the officer, voice shaking. "That's not an asteroid." Before Rator could respond, a voice filled the bridge, cold, human, and calm. "This is Terran Defense Command. You are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately." Everyone froze. Rator shouted, "Identify yourself." "This space belongs to the Varnak Empire." The voice replied, "Not anymore." A flash of light cut through the darkness. A single rail cannon round hit the Claw, tearing through its shields and slicing the ship in half. No distress call? No survivors. Then silence again. News of the destruction spread fast. The Varnak Empire demanded answers. The Council sent more patrols. None returned. Whispers began in every corner of the galaxy. Some said ghosts of humanity had returned. Others said it was a new species using their name to scare the Council. But in the secret command chamber beneath Earth's surface, Admiral Evelyn Cross watched the reports with cold eyes. Around her, holographic screens displayed the enemy fleet movements, dozens of ships near the Terran border. She turned to her officers. "They're coming," she said quietly. Commander Hayes nodded. "Should we send a warning?" The Admiral's lips curved into a small smile. "No warnings, not yet. Let them think we're gone. Let them come closer." The lights dimmed as the room went into battle mode. Hundreds of hidden satellites powered up across the solar system. Cloaked ships awakened from deep sleep, their engines burning silently in the dark. For the first time in 200 years, humanity prepared for war. Far away, the Galactic Council continued to laugh. "They can't stop us," said the Thrixian delegate. "If there are humans left, we will crush them." But somewhere, deep in the blackness of space, a transmission left Earth, a simple message sent to all frequencies. "To the Galactic Council, you mocked us once. You called us extinct. Now you will remember who we are." The message ended. Then came the silence. But this time, it was the silence before the storm. The stars near the old Terran border shimmered quietly, peaceful, silent, unaware that death was coming. From hyperspace, the galactic armada appeared. 1,000 ships, war cruisers, destroyers, dreadnoughts, glowing like a river of fire cutting through the void. The Galactic Council had sent everything they had. Their mission was simple: find the humans and erase them forever. At the head of the armada floated the grand flagship, the Celestial Spear, commanded by High Admiral Krith Varnak, a proud warrior whose name alone could silence lesser species. He stood before the holographic map, his 4 golden eyes fixed on a small blue planet at the edge of the display. "Humanity," he said slowly, his voice deep and cold. "Let us see if you still exist." Inside Earth's hidden command bunker, deep under the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Evelyn Cross watched the same armada on her screens. The enemy ships glowed red on the radar, a massive swarm moving toward human space. Her officers stood tense behind her. "Ma'am," said Commander Hayes, "we're outnumbered 100 to 1. Should we prepare for evacuation?" The Admiral didn't look away from the screen. "No, we don't run anymore." She turned to the holographic display of the fleet, hundreds of human ships hidden across the asteroid belts and moons. Each ship was silent, cloaked, unseen by alien sensors. Each ship carried weapons the galaxy had never witnessed before. Admiral Cross raised her hand. "Activate Phantom Protocol. The galaxy see what silence can do." In the dark of space, the human fleet came alive. Invisible warships powered up. Stealth drones spread out like shadows. Orbital cannons rotated toward the invaders, and yet, nothing moved. The enemy kept coming, unaware that they were being watched. Admiral Krith, an officer, said aboard the Celestial Spear, "Scanners detect no life forms. The Terran sector is empty," Krith smiled. "As expected. A dead world and childish rumors. Humans are long gone," but then his smile faded. The stars ahead began to blink, one by one, vanishing behind patches of darkness. Not natural darkness. Something was absorbing light itself. "What is that?" asked the officer, panic rising. Krith narrowed his eyes. "Shields up. Weapons ready." Before they could react, hundreds of bright blue flashes lit the void. Beams of light, fast, precise, deadly, tore through the alien formation. Dozens of ships exploded instantly, their wreckage drifting into the dark. "Ambush!" someone screamed. Krith's command deck shook violently. "Find the enemy! Find them!" But scanners showed nothing. The human ships were invisible. They were ghosts. Across the battlefield, human pilots moved with machine-like calm. Inside the TSS Revenant, Commander Aiden Vale gripped his controls. "Targets locked," said his AI co-pilot. "Fire," Aiden whispered. Railguns fired silently. Missiles streaked through the black. Alien dreadnoughts burned like candles in a storm. "That's for the centuries you mocked us," Aiden said under his breath. The Galactic Armada fired back blindly. Energy blasts lit up the void, but they hit nothing. Human cloaking systems confused every scanner. To the aliens, it was like fighting shadows that hit from every angle. Inside the Celestial Spear, Krith roared. "Where are they?" His ship shook again as another blast hit the engines. The Admiral looked out through the viewing window and saw it. A massive ship emerging from the dark. It was shaped like a blade, glowing faint blue, covered in old Terran markings. The name shimmered across its hull, TSS Vengeance. From its front, a single cannon charged, brighter, brighter, until the stars themselves seemed to fade. Admiral Cross's voice echoed across every human channel. For Earth, for every life they laughed at. Fire. The beam fired. The Celestial Spear vanished in a storm of white light. For the next 6 hours, the galaxy's greatest armada was destroyed. Every alien ship burned or fled, and when the silence returned, the only signals left in the sector were human. On Earth, Admiral Cross stood before her officers. Reports came in. Hundreds of enemy ships destroyed, 0 human casualties. But her face remained calm. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Now the galaxy knows we're back. They'll come again, stronger, so we'll be ready." Commander Hayes smiled slightly. "Do you think they'll still mock us, ma'am?" The Admiral looked up at the stars on the screen. "Not anymore. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. The humans are alive. They destroyed an entire fleet. They were silent for centuries. But now they have returned. Fear grew where laughter once lived. Every empire began to fortify its borders. Every leader wondered, what else were the humans hiding? The news spread faster than light. The Galactic Armada, a force no one had ever dared to challenge, was gone. Destroyed in a single night near the Terran border. No survivors. No black boxes. Only silence and wreckage drifting among the stars. The galaxy trembled. Every major empire sent spies, drones, and scouts to learn what had happened. But none returned. Every signal sent into the Terran sector disappeared, swallowed by the dark. It was as if space itself refused to speak about what it had seen. On the Thrixian homeworld, the Great Senate gathered in panic. "The reports cannot be true," shouted one senator. "No species could destroy a fleet that size." Another slammed his clawed hand on the table. "But our patrols confirm it. Wreckage shows Varnak and Council ships burned by plasma weaponry. Technology beyond anything in our records." Silence fell over the chamber. Then a small, frightened voice whispered, "Humans." The word spread through the room like a disease. "Impossible," someone hissed. "They were extinct. They were weak." But deep inside, none of them believed their own words anymore. On the distant colony world of Serath 4, a mining outpost near the edge of human space, the alarm sounded at midnight. The workers ran outside as the sky turned blue. A massive shape appeared above the clouds, dark, silent, and shaped like a blade. Made no sound, no transmission, no demand. It only hovered for a moment, watching. Then it vanished. The colony's sensors showed no jump signature, no trace at all. When the Thrixian fleet arrived to investigate, the colony was gone. Every building, every living creature erased. Only one message was left behind, burned into the surface of the planet. "We warned you." Back on Earth, inside the Sol Defense Command, Admiral Evelyn Cross stood in front of the main display. Reports from human agents were pouring in. Panic across the galaxy, broken trade routes, fleets retreating from Terran borders. Her officers looked both proud and uneasy. "Ma'am," said Commander Hayes, "we've sent a message the whole galaxy can't forget. But what if they unite against us? What if they bring every empire into one massive army?" The Admiral nodded slowly. "Then we'll remind them why we survived when others didn't." She looked at the hologram of Earth, a small blue planet surrounded by countless hidden stations and cloaked fleets. "They mocked us once," she said softly. "Now they fear us, and fear is the best defense we ever built." Far away in the golden towers of the Galactic Council, chaos ruled. Ambassadors screamed. Generals argued. Each species blamed the other for humanity's return. "Your fleets invaded their territory. You provoked them. You brought this on all of us." The council leader, an ancient creature of light known as High Consul Vereen, finally rose. "Enough," he said, his glowing form pulsing with anger. "We must speak to them. We must know what they want." But no one volunteered to go. No empire dared send a ship toward human space. It was the first time in thousands of years that the council was afraid. That night, Vereen stood alone in his chamber. He looked out through the glass dome above him, into the endless sea of stars. Once he had thought himself a god among mortals. Now he felt like a child staring into darkness. "Humans," he whispered, "what have you become?" Just then, the lights in his chamber flickered. Every screen went black. A cold human voice spoke from the darkness. "We became what you made us." Vereen turned, terrified. A figure stepped out of the shadows, humanoid, tall, wearing black armor that shimmered like starlight. Before Vereen could speak, the figure placed a small device on his desk. "A message from Earth," the voice said. Then the figure vanished, fading into nothing. The device activated, projecting a hologram of Admiral Cross. "To the Galactic Council," she said. "You sent fleets to destroy us. You called us extinct. You hunted our colonies centuries ago. But we endured. We rebuilt. We evolved." Her eyes burned with calm fury. "We do not seek war, but we will not hide anymore. Stay out of Terran space, or we will remind you again of what power truly means." The hologram ended. Vereen sank into his chair, trembling. For the first time in his life, the leader of the Galactic Council felt small. Weeks passed. The borders around Terran space became quiet. No fleets entered. No scouts dared approach. Even the boldest empires began to avoid the dark edge of the Orion Arm. And yet strange things began to happen. Unmarked ships were seen near distant worlds. Encrypted messages reached old human allies. Unknown signals moved through communication networks. Vast, complex, impossible to trace. Some said humanity was building something. Others whispered they were preparing for another war. But no one knew the truth, because the humans had learned one thing above all else. Power is not always loud. Sometimes it hides in silence, waiting for the right moment to strike again. In the hidden base beneath the lunar surface, Admiral Cross stood alone, staring at Earth through the glass dome. Commander Hayes approached quietly. "The galaxy is terrified," he said. "They won't attack us again." The Admiral didn't answer. Her eyes stayed fixed on the stars. "They will," she finally said. "Fear doesn't last forever. One day someone brave or foolish will test us again." She turned, her voice calm and cold. "And when that day comes, we'll show them what true humanity looks like." Outside, the shadow of the TSS Vengeance drifted silently over the moon's horizon, its engines cold, its weapons sleeping. Waiting. The storm wasn't over. It had just begun. The galaxy had gone quiet. Too quiet. Since the destruction of the Galactic Armada, no warships had entered human space. No traders passed near the Terran border. No signals came out, but silence does not always mean peace. It often means someone is planning something. In the shining halls of the Galactic Council, fear had slowly turned into anger. The leaders of 100 species gathered around a massive circular chamber. Holograms of destroyed fleets floated in the center. Twisted wreckage, broken ships, names of lost heroes. The High Consul, Vireen, stood at the center. His once glowing form was dim, his voice sharp. "For months we have hidden behind fear. Humanity destroyed one fleet, yes, but they are still one world, one species. If we do nothing, they will become unstoppable." Murmurs spread around the chamber. "But their technology, they have cloaked ships. They strike like ghosts." Vireen raised his hand. "That is why we need to adapt. We will not fight them the old way." He turned toward the shadowed corner of the chamber, where a tall, cloaked figure stepped forward. No one knew his name, only that he represented a group outside the council, a group that existed in whispers. Vireen said, "Show them what we have built." The figure placed a small cube on the table. It glowed red, projecting a three-dimensional image, a massive black structure floating in space. The chamber fell silent. "Project Eclipse," the figure said. "A weapon forged from the technology we recovered after the human war centuries ago. Designed to counter anything the Terrans possess." Every delegate leaned closer. "It can block hyperspace travel," the figure continued. "It can jam communication. It can trap an entire fleet inside a gravity field. Once completed, the Terrans will be isolated, cut off from the galaxy." Vireen's voice grew darker. "We will not destroy them yet. We will cage them. Let them rot in silence as they made us fear in silence." The room erupted in agreement. The plan had begun. Far away on Luna Base, humanity's greatest secret installation, Admiral Evelyn Cross was reviewing reports. Satellite scans showed strange activity along the outer rim. Movement of ships, energy readings, and mysterious stations being built in deep space. "Looks like the Council is up to something," said Commander Hayes, standing beside her. The Admiral nodded. "They're rebuilding faster than expected. But they won't attack head-on this time. They've learned," Hayes frowned. "So what do we do?" Cross looked at the glowing map. Tiny red dots, enemy movements, surrounded human space like a tightening web. "We find out what they're building. And who's leading them." She turned to her communications officer. "Send word to the Black Wing." The Black Wing was a name that didn't exist on any record. It was humanity's invisible hand. Elite agents, spies, assassins, operating across the galaxy in complete secrecy. One of them, Agent Mira Solon, stood inside a crowded alien city on Draxia Prime, wearing a disguise that made her look like one of them. Tall, silver-skinned with false eyes that glowed yellow. Through her earpiece, a calm voice whispered, "Mira, target is leaving the embassy. Stay on him." She followed the alien diplomat through dark alleys until he entered a hidden gate. Mira slipped inside quietly and found herself in a secret lab full of scientists and soldiers, all working around a hologram of the same red structure. Project Eclipse. Her eyes widened. She activated her recorder. "Command, I found it." It's a weapon. A massive one. They're calling it Eclipse. But before she could escape, a sudden alarm rang. The room filled with guards. "Human spy," one of them shouted. Mira ran. Energy blasts flew past her. She dived behind crates rolling, firing back with a silenced pulse gun. She reached the exit, wounded but alive. Her small drone hovered above, sending all data back to Earth before she jumped onto a moving cargo ship. Back at Luna Command, Admiral Cross watched the feed. The structure was enormous, built from old Terran designs mixed with alien energy cores. "They're trying to use our own technology against us," she said coldly. Meanwhile, in the council chamber, the cloaked figure returned to Vereen. "Construction continues, but the humans know." Vereen's eyes flickered. "Then we must move faster. We cannot allow them to strike first," the figure nodded. "We will test the weapon soon." As he turned to leave, Vereen asked, "Do you truly believe this device can defeat them?" The figure paused, then smiled. "Defeat them? No, but it will make them afraid again." 3 weeks later, deep in space, the Eclipse station powered up for the first time. Its engines glowed like red suns, pulling nearby debris into orbit. A field of darkness expanded from its core, silent, invisible, but strong enough to warp light. The engineers watched in awe. "Gravity field is stable. Energy levels rising. We're ready to test." They targeted an old moon used for training exercises. A single pulse from the station's core hit the surface, and the moon simply vanished. "Not destroyed, erased. Perfect," whispered the cloaked figure. "Now imagine what this will do to Earth." On Earth, alarms screamed. Long-range sensors picked up a strange wave of gravity energy. Admiral Cross stared at the readings. A distortion large enough to erase a planet. "They've built something," she said softly. "Something that shouldn't exist." Commander Hayes looked at her in disbelief. "Can we stop it?" She shook her head. "Not yet, but we'll find a way." "We always do." Her eyes turned toward the stars. "They think they're safe behind their machines. But they've forgotten one thing. We built those machines first." Far away, inside the Eclipse station, the cloaked figure stood alone, watching Earth through a long-range viewer. He smiled. But behind that smile, a flicker of doubt appeared, because deep in his mind he knew the old stories. The ones that said you never corner a human. You never make them desperate, because desperation is when humanity becomes unstoppable. And somewhere in the dark, human ships were already on the move. The storm was coming again. The galaxy was on edge. Whispers of the Eclipse station had spread across every system. A weapon so powerful, it could erase a world with one pulse. Most believed it was unstoppable. Most, but not the humans. Deep beneath the lunar surface, inside Luna Command, the air was tense. Admiral Evelyn Cross stood before a holographic map showing the location of the Eclipse station. A red dot surrounded by enemy fleets. "Can we destroy it?" asked Commander Hayes. The Admiral's eyes were cold. "We can't attack it directly. Its gravity field would crush any ship that comes close." A young officer spoke nervously. "Then what do we do, ma'am?" Admiral Cross turned to face her team. "We don't attack it from the outside," she said quietly. "We take it from the inside." That was the moment Operation Shadowfall was born. A plan so dangerous that only the Black Wing could attempt it. Their mission: infiltrate the Eclipse station, steal its control codes, and disable the weapon before the Council could fire it on Earth. Only 3 operatives were chosen. Agent Mira Solon, the spy who had discovered the project, Commander Aiden Vale, pilot of the stealth ship Revenant, and Lieutenant Rook, a cybernetically enhanced engineer. They knew the odds. They also knew failure meant extinction. The Revenant drifted silently through the void, cloaked and invisible. Its dark hull absorbed all light, making it one with the stars. Inside, Mira stood near the window, watching the Eclipse station grow larger in the distance, a black sun surrounded by hundreds of alien ships. "Hard to believe one station could end a planet," she said quietly. Commander Vale smirked. Hard to believe they think that will stop us. Rook checked the systems. Cloak is stable. We'll slip in during their maintenance cycle. No transmissions, no lights, no sound. The Revenant entered the dark shadow of the station, blending into its own gravity field. To the aliens inside, it was invisible. They were ghosts once again. Inside the Eclipse station, the cloaked council agent, the one who had created the project, was watching the stars from the command deck. The weapon was ready. All systems charged, said a technician. Target? The agent smiled. Earth, begin countdown. A low hum filled the room as the massive energy core began to glow red, but far below in the maintenance decks, a hatch opened silently. 3 figures slipped inside. Mira, Vale, and Rook moved like shadows. Their suits muffled every sound, and their visors showed them paths through the maze of corridors. Rook connected a small device to the wall, mapping the structure, he whispered. Core located, 3 levels down. Mira nodded. Let's move. Minutes later, alarms started flashing in the upper decks. Unscheduled power surge. Unknown interference. Engineers ran to their stations, but they couldn't find the cause. In the control room, the cloaked agent frowned. Someone's inside. Lock down the lower sectors. Security teams moved in, searching every corridor. Rook hacked into the main systems, sweat dripping from his forehead. Almost there. 30 seconds to bypass. Footsteps echoed in the distance. Mira raised her weapon. A patrol turned the corner, and she fired. 2 quick shots. Once again. Bypass complete, Rook said. We have access. They entered a massive chamber filled with glowing red machinery, the heart of the Eclipse. The gravity core pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing in everything around it. Plant the charges, Vale ordered. We overload this thing from inside. They moved fast, placing small magnetic explosives around the room. Then Mira froze. Her visor detected movement. Above them, the cloaked agent stood on a walkway, aiming a plasma rifle. Humans, he said softly. I expected you. Vale raised his weapon, but the agent fired first. The blast hit Rook, throwing him against the wall. Sparks burst from his armor. Go! Rook shouted. Finish the mission. Mira gritted her teeth. We're not leaving you. Now! He screamed. The door sealed behind them as the alien soldiers rushed in. Rook grabbed a live cable, forcing it into the reactor core. The energy tore through his body, but it was enough. The core screamed, lights flashing red. On the command deck, the cloaked agent looked at his screen in shock. Critical overload, a technician shouted. We're losing containment, the agent snarled. Shut it down. But it was too late. The Revenant had already detached from the station, Mira and Vale aboard. Through the viewport, they saw the Eclipse station begin to implode. It folded inward, glowing brighter and brighter, until it vanished in a flash of white. Back on Luna Command, the entire control room cheered. Commander Hayes turned to Admiral Cross. Operation Shadowfall successful. Eclipse destroyed, but the Admiral didn't smile. Her eyes stayed cold. Rook didn't make it, she said quietly. A long silence filled the room. Then she spoke again. Send a message to the Council. Let them know their weapon failed. Hours later, in the Galactic Council's chamber, the transmission arrived. It showed Admiral Cross standing tall, her uniform scorched, her expression calm. You built your weapon with our stolen technology, she said. Now you've seen what happens when you use human creation against its makers. Her eyes narrowed. We don't seek war, but we will not forgive another attack. Stay out of Terran space, the message ended. The chamber fell silent. No one dared to speak. In the shadows behind the council hall, a surviving scientist from the Eclipse Project whispered to his partner, if that was only their retaliation, what happens if they truly decide to fight? The other answered quietly, then the galaxy will burn. In orbit above Earth, the Revenant returned home. Mira stood by the window looking down at the blue planet below. Commander Vale placed a hand on her shoulder. We did it, she nodded, but her voice was heavy. We stopped one weapon. But they'll build another. They always do. The stars glimmered outside the glass. Earth looked peaceful again. But peace in the galaxy never lasted long, because somewhere, deep in the darkness, the next storm was already rising. The victory over the Eclipse station had made humanity a legend. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council hesitated. Their fleet stopped near Terran borders. Their diplomats spoke in softer tones, and whispers spread across the stars. The humans are not to be provoked. But while the galaxy watched from afar, something darker was happening much closer, inside humanity itself. At Luna Command, life had returned to routine. Admiral Evelyn Cross stood before the great window, watching Earth slowly rise over the lunar horizon. Behind her, Commander Hayes entered quietly. "Admiral," he said, "the Senate wants to speak with you. They're demanding answers about the eclipse incident." Cross sighed. "Of course they are. They never cared how we win, only what it costs." She turned, her eyes sharp. "Prepare the transmission." Moments later, her face appeared before the Terran Senate, a vast chamber filled with politicians, scientists, and generals. The Senate speaker leaned forward. "Admiral Cross, congratulations on the victory. But we've reviewed your operation. You lost an entire squad, and one of our best engineers. Why wasn't he extracted?" Cross kept her voice calm. "Lieutenant Rook made a choice. His sacrifice saved Earth." Murmurs filled the chamber. The speaker narrowed his eyes. "A noble story, but do you have proof?" Cross's patience thinned. "Are you suggesting I fabricated the death of a soldier?" Before the speaker could answer, a side screen flickered, and a new voice interrupted. "Perhaps she didn't fabricate it," the man said softly. "Perhaps she covered something else." The figure stepped into view. Director Kellen Voss, head of Terran Intelligence. "Explain yourself, Director," Cross demanded. Voss smiled faintly. "We recovered partial data from the eclipse debris. It shows someone transmitted information out of the station before it exploded. Encrypted human code." The room went silent. "Someone on your team," Voss continued, "sent data to the enemy." Later, inside her private quarters, Cross replayed the transmission over and over. Data had indeed been sent during the mission, but by who? Mirasolin? Commander Vale? Could it have been Rook? Before he died? She didn't want to believe it, but evidence didn't lie. Meanwhile, aboard the Revenant, Mira and Vale were heading toward Mars Command for debriefing. Mira stared at the stars, her thoughts heavy. "They think someone betrayed the mission," Vale frowned. "That's impossible. We all risked our lives." "Who would do that?" Mira hesitated. "Maybe someone had no choice." Vale turned to her sharply. "You know something, don't you?" She looked down. "Before Rook died, he said, 'They'll find out anyway.' I thought he meant the aliens. But what if he meant us?" The ship fell silent. Back on Earth, Director Voss met with a group deep below the Terran capital, a hidden council of powerful men and women. They were not part of the Senate. They were the Ascendancy, a secret faction that believed humanity's destiny was not peace, but domination. Voss spoke confidently. "The Admiral is too cautious. She wants diplomacy, but the aliens fear us now. This is our moment to strike." An older man nodded. "What of the Eclipse technology? Was anything recovered?" Voss smiled. "More than they think. Our deep space recovery team found fragments. Rook's final transmission gave us coordinates. He was one of us." The others leaned forward. "You mean the Eclipse weapon can be rebuilt?" Voss nodded. "Improved. Controlled by humans, not aliens. With it, we won't just defend Earth. We'll rule the stars." At Luna Command, Admiral Cross received a secret message, no sender, no ID. Only 3 words. "They are rebuilding." Attached was a set of coordinates, a classified asteroid sector deep beyond Neptune's orbit. Cross called Hayes immediately. "Get Mira and Vale back here, quietly. We may have another problem." Within hours, the Revenant landed at Luna Base. Mira stepped off the ramp, saluting the Admiral. "Ma'am," she said. "We came as ordered." Cross handed her the tablet showing the coordinates. "These came from an unknown source. Whoever sent this knew about Operation Shadowfall." Vale looked at the screen. "Asteroid Field 9X Beta. No colonies, no outposts. Why would anyone be there?" Cross answered grimly. "Because that's where they're building something they shouldn't." Meanwhile, in the asteroid sector itself, inside a hollowed-out rock, Terran scientists worked under heavy guard. The air was thick with radiation. Blue energy crackled through metal conduits as the new weapon core pulsed. Director Voss stood before it, proud. "The aliens tried to destroy us," he said to his engineers. Now we'll show them what human power truly means. A scientist hesitated. Sir, this core isn't stable. If it goes critical, then stabilize it, Voss snapped. We're not stopping now. Days later, Admiral Cross, Mira, and Vale stood aboard a small recon ship approaching the asteroid field. The scanners showed strange readings, energy signatures unlike anything they'd seen since the eclipse. Vale muttered, "They really did it. They rebuilt the core." Cross clenched her jaw. "We have to stop them before the Council finds out. If they see us using alien weapons, they'll unite against Earth." Suddenly, their sensors blinked red. "Incoming ships! Terran ships," Vale frowned. "Wait, those are ours," Cross's voice went cold. "No, not ours. The Ascendancy," the radio crackled. Director Voss's voice came through, calm and confident. "Admiral Cross, I was expecting you." Cross replied sharply. "You're out of line, Voss. You're endangering all of us." "Endangering?" He said. "No, Admiral. I'm securing our future. The aliens will never respect peace, and they only understand fear. I'm giving them something to fear," Vale whispered. "He's mad." Cross's voice hardened. "You're playing with a weapon that already killed millions. Turn it off now." Voss laughed softly. "You can't stop me, Admiral. The new eclipse will rise, and humanity will rule the stars." Then the transmission cut. On the scanner, energy levels began to spike. The asteroid base glowed blue, light pouring from its cracks. Vale shouted, "He's activating it." Cross turned to Mira. "Get us close enough to disable the core. We can't let that thing fire." The ship dove into the asteroid's shadow. The battle for humanity's future had begun. But this time, the threat wasn't from the galaxy. It was from within. The stars were burning. The asteroid field near Neptune glowed with blue fire as energy pulsed from the secret base. The new eclipse core was alive, and if it fired, it could tear open space itself. Inside their stealth ship, Admiral Evelyn Cross, Mira Solon, and Commander Aiden Vale watched in silence. Vale whispered, "That much energy. If it explodes, it won't stop at one planet." Cross's voice was steady. "Then we end this. No more weapons. No more monsters." Inside the base, Director Voss stood before the glowing core. The air shimmered from radiation. Engineers ran between panels trying to keep the system stable. One scientist shouted, "Sir, containment is dropping." "The reactor isn't ready." Voss smiled coldly. "It doesn't have to be ready. It just has to work." He turned to his guards. "Prepare the transmission. Once this core fires, every alien world will see humanity's strength." As the Revenant approached the base, Mira worked on the controls. "I can breach the outer shield," she said, fingers flying across the console. "But we'll only get one chance." Cross nodded. "That's all we need," Vale grinned. "Time to remind the Director who really commands humanity." The ship dove through the asteroid dust, cloaked in silence. A flash of light. The shield shattered. They broke through. Inside the base, alarms blared. "Security breach! Unauthorized vessel inbound!" Voss frowned. "So she came after all." He turned to his guards. "Find them. Kill them." The Revenant landed hard inside the hangar. Smoke filled the air as the ramp opened. Cross stepped out first, rifle ready. Mira and Vale followed close behind. They moved through dark corridors, hearing the low hum of the weapon building toward critical. Vale whispered, "This place feels wrong. Like it's alive." Mira scanned the readings. "The energy levels are unstable. If it overloads, it'll take half the system with it." Cross's voice was calm but sharp. "Then we don't let it overload." They reached the main chamber, and there stood Director Voss, his uniform burned and torn, his eyes glowing faint blue from radiation exposure. "Welcome, Admiral," he said with a smirk. "You've come to witness humanity's true evolution." Cross raised her weapon. "You're not saving humanity, Voss. You're dooming it." He laughed. "You don't understand. The galaxy fears us now, but fear isn't enough. We must rule. This weapon gives us that power." Mira stepped forward. "You're becoming the same as the aliens we fought. You're proving them right about us." Voss's smile faded. "They enslaved us, dissected us, mocked us. And you want peace with them?" He pointed toward the glowing core. "This is justice." Cross took a deep breath. "No, Voss, this is extinction." Without warning, he pulled a sidearm and fired. The blast missed Cross by inches, hitting the console behind her. Sparks flew. Vale returned fire, forcing Voss to dive behind a panel. Mira shouted, "He's trying to overload it manually." The core's hum deepened, the light shifting from blue to white. The floor trembled. Vale grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and ran for the control deck. "Cover me!" Cross and Mira fired, taking down Voss's soldiers one by one. The air filled with smoke and flashing lights. Finally, Vale reached the console. He slammed his hand on the emergency override, but nothing happened. "He locked it from the inside," Vale shouted. Voss stood again, his body glowing from the radiation. His voice was half human, half electric. "You can't stop me now. The core is bound to my signal. If I die, it detonates," Cross froze. Killing him would destroy everything. Mira's eyes darted across the room, then landed on the interface. "Wait, his link. It's neural. If we sever his control before he dies, we can stop the chain." Cross nodded. "Do it." Mira sprinted forward under fire. Bullets and plasma bolts cut through the air. She slid behind the reactor console, pulling out a neural disruptor. "Keep him busy," she shouted. Vale and Cross moved out of cover, firing together, forcing Voss back toward the platform. He screamed in rage. "You think you can take my dream away? You think you can cage power like this?" The room shook violently. The core began spinning faster, light bursting in waves. Mira activated the disruptors and sent a pulse through the system. Voss froze. His eyes widened as electricity ripped through his veins. "No, you can't," the neural link shattered. His control over the core was gone. Vale ran to the main terminal. "The core's free, but it's still overloading." Cross shouted, "Then we vent it into space." Mira tapped the console furiously. "I can open the reactor doors manually, but someone has to stay here to release the locks." Vale looked at her. "You mean someone dies?" Mira nodded slowly. Cross's voice hardened. "No one dies today." She stepped forward. "That's an order." But Mira's eyes were calm. "You gave me a reason to fight again, Admiral. Let me finish it." Before Cross could stop her, Mira activated the manual sequence. The blast doors above the reactor opened, and the core began to rise, drawn into the vacuum of space. The light grew brighter. The chamber walls shook. Vale grabbed Cross, pulling her back toward the ship. "We have to go." Cross's voice broke. "Mira!" But Mira only smiled through the chaos. "Tell them, humanity can rise without fear." And then, light, a massive burst of energy shot upward, vanishing into the stars. The asteroid cracked apart, exploding into blue fragments. Hours later, the Revenant floated in silence among drifting debris. Cross sat at the viewport, staring at the distant glow. Vale approached quietly. "No trace of her." Cross shook her head. "She's gone." For a long time, neither spoke. Then Vale said softly, "She saved us all." Cross nodded. "She reminded us who we are." Weeks later, the Galactic Council received a message. It was short and direct, signed by Admiral Evelyn Cross. "The weapon is destroyed. Humanity seeks peace, but we are not defenseless. Try us again, and you will see the full dawn of Earth." The Council didn't reply. They didn't dare. Far away, on a quiet moon orbiting a forgotten world, a figure woke in a medical pod. The light was dim, the air silent. Her eyes opened slowly. It was Mira Solon. The screen beside her flickered to life, showing the Terran emblem. "Recovery successful," the computer said softly. "Welcome back, Agent Solon." Mira smiled faintly, whispering, "Guess the story isn't over yet."